He's in the union at school, and they're negotiating their contract, and that was a big thing. Wear your mask for solidarity.
Yeah.
She's like,
Here, Tim.
do a better
I'll
job
put mine on.
negotiating.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do the rag, let's see. Here we go.
I call mine a gator, Steve. I'm sorry. Ready?
This is a Tommy Copper too. I'm just gonna leave it like this.
There you go. All right. Okay, I'll call to order this city council meeting for November 12th, 2020. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Steve Cherney,
Here.
Kevin Kadada is absent, Tim Rude,
Here.
Cindy Fuhr,
Here.
and Scott Palava.
Okay, just a reminder before we get going, under the governor's executive order, we're all still required to wear masks. Although when you are speaking, you're certainly welcome to come up the front and remove your mask when you're speaking, and then once you're done, if you could please replace it. On to the agenda, there is going down to 10F tonight. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Joel, did you want to change something?
Nope.
You're still going to do 10C?
Oh, yeah, anything with the police department is pulled from the agenda.
Okay, so you want to remove 10C is what you're saying?
Okay.
Correct.
Motion to approve with that change.
Second, Your Honor.
Okay, motion by Councilman Palava, second by Councilman Cherney. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the October 29th, 2020 regular meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Cherney,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Anybody off the floor that's not on the agenda? Okay, nothing on the consent agenda. There is no old business. Therefore, we are on to new business. Discuss and provide direction on the Rice County State Aid Highway Cassaw 4 reconstruction project. Dennis Luby, Rice County Engineer. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you.
Sure, come on up to the podium, sure. Let me make sure we get you on camera.
The microphone will,
How you
the
doing?
microphone will
Where's
pick
the
you up
camera?
there.
It's right there.
Okay, glad to be here. Just trying to give the council some time to comment directly, I guess, to me and the county on where we're at so far with the concept of that project. I know I've met with Joel and John and a couple times to kind of just review the goals of the project, if you will. And from the county's perspective, it's obviously to improve and enhance that whole corridor. And I guess I'd back up just a step. Is everybody familiar with the project we're talking about? Is there any question? It runs from the intersection out here to the school. That's the project, that's this project I'm talking about. We have a couple other ones in the neighborhood coming to the area in the next coming years. This one I think is programmed for 2022. We've done some preliminary environmental and surveying issues, so we're gearing up, and we got the city's comments that the staff and you put together regarding issues along that corridor. So had some good meetings. I think maybe the 800-pound elephant in the room for this project is, what are we going to do with the intersection out here at 3rd Street West and Trunk Highway 21, right? So, you know, we had some good discussions, and I think I'm here to talk about the 3 alternatives we kind of settled on right now. And again, this is preliminary. we do nothing. We rebuild the road with the alignment and the intersection essentially the way it is. We could rebuild the road, but the city could close 3rd Street. And I think you have some schematics that
Right.
kind of represent that.
Right,
So,
correct,
and then the
correct.
third one is we plotted what a what a cul-de-sac would look like on 3rd Street, trying to provide a little more maintenance, ease of maintenance for the city to get in there and turn around and do what you need to do. It's very difficult to incorporate that, if you ask me. And the other issues there is interrupting current accesses to essentially all 3 of the commercial properties in that corner, to some degree. So, while we were talking and just reviewing options, and, you know, we get to the point of what problem are we trying to solve? Right? I mean, we don't have a high crash rate, if any. I
Okay,
think, I
right.
don't know if I don't think we have any.
I think you're right.
I think we're really fortunate that
Right.
way. But I think everybody knows it's such a poor corner that they are extra careful.
Yeah. And we do have some similar type intersections elsewhere in the county. There's a much, probably less urbanized one in Morristown, kind of essentially the same. We have a skewed intersection and then another tangent intersection right off the main line of a County Road 15, as you come into the city of Morristown by the river. You come in from Morristown from the east. So, you know, from my perspective, after talking and having some time to focus on it, I think we're like, well, the issue here is it's a non-typical intersection. But in and of itself, has that created significant hardships and problems for you and the residents of Lonsdale, as well as obviously all the motorists who come and go through there? And accident history would kind of say, well, there's not a strong case for it.
One's too much. That
Okay.
intersection sucks.
Yeah.
It does. I moved here 5 years ago. It's the most dangerous intersections in the I was going to ask you about the criteria. I don't like the criteria. One of the criteria as far as crashes and accidents, Cindy made an excellent point. The point being is that we're extra careful out here. That somebody's going to get killed there. I mean, I've been around for 69 years. That's the worst intersection. In Europe, I've seen better intersections, and that's terrible over there. So we need to figure this thing out to make it conducive so that we can have a safe, reasonable intersection. And I'm very adamant about that. And I'm a newbie, but I'm old. And
I think just,
Point taken.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think, you know, the fact is, you know, when you do your traffic studies, you rely on crash rates and all that kind of stuff. That's just, you know, part of the deal. I would, because of the lack of crash, but I don't think you want to close 3rd Avenue. I mean, I think people would be upset with that. So I don't think that option would be workable.
Mr. Mayor, if
Sure.
I could, I would suggest the city strongly look at a temporary closing to see what kind of feedback you guys get.
not a bad idea.
Because if that intersection, if you were to try that and you found the pushback was minimal, that would go a long way to clarifying the whole issue.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you.
And the other thing we kicked around was, you know, we're taking comments and we listen and try to resolve them all. It's not possible. Anything we're proposing to do would never really prohibit us from coming back at some future date to make some more structural changes.
So basically what you're saying is this item here where you would close 3rd and then make a 90 by the dentist's office? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's on the list of possibilities, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the most aggressive project, right? That requires buying right-of-way from the dental practice. That requires negotiating or securing some kind of, we would want to make sure we're not approached by the car dealership for severancing their access to their business in a material way, which might end up costing the county significant dollars. And then we still have the new restaurant, that may or may not be advantageous to their flow. So
So-
we create a couple can of worms, and if I could, Tim, this came up in good discussion we had, is if you envisioned a realigned County Road 4 with that third, I think it's the third,
Third Avenue.
okay? If you envision that, then I would suggest we ought to be careful about westbound traffic slowing on Trunk Highway 3 to make a left turn, Trunk Highway 3, wrong part of the county.
Right.
Too many numbers.
19.
So you're gonna have anybody who makes that nice westbound movement now, they just veer in. In fact, I followed somebody in, right? Now, we would stop that, because we would have to probably introduce a left turn lane on the state highway, which would probably require us to widen the highway on the other side and introduce, I don't know what's the distance in the urban zone, 30 mile an hour, in a rural situation, a left turn lane is 1,500 feet of widening. I don't think it would be quite that big in the urban setting, but you get my point.
Yeah.
You're gonna introduce another level of traffic behavior
Right,
that may create
right,
more problems than we have.
right.
Um,
I guess that's, so conversely then, and also from
So-
west, eastbound, I mean, if you did this, don't you have to create a turn lane on the eastbound side also?
Well, there'd be a strong argument to say now we have to introduce the left and the right turn lane as you're
Right.
eastbound on 4 coming into that intersection, so it gets wider. I would assume we'd put a right turn lane for eastbound Trunk Highway 19 traffic.
I mean, just from what my experience is on turn lanes and bypass lanes, all that kind of stuff, especially on the trunk highway, that gets pretty substantial.
So again,
But-
and when we pull that trigger, now we're heavily engaged with MnDOT.
Right.
And that may or may not be advantageous depending on your experience and point of view.
Typically not, here, at least.
Well,
ours.
they've got a huge program.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say the county's been able to make some inroads with MnDOT on the six-legged roundabout concept right now, and we're advancing that. That would be on the east side of I-35 at 19 there. I think that's a solution that certainly would improve the functionality of that particular part of our system. And I know Joel wrote a great letter of support to the state as I wrote a letter of support for them to be looking at safety money to build a roundabout right here in Lonsdale at 2 and 96 where we've had some traffic safety issues. So,
Well, I think, yeah, just to kind of add to your point, I mean, especially with monies being tight, I don't think this would be the top priority in Lonsdale. I mean, you just talked about the roundabout up there. Another priority should be 19 and 8th, which is not yours, but that's a difficult intersection that's going to have to be addressed. someday.
Definitely.
And we talked about that
Yes,
before.
definitely.
I think those are priorities, at least how I see it. I don't know if, how you guys see
Oh,
it,
we're
but,
with you.
especially when dollars are limited, as typically they are, but.
well, it's just challenging to get into MnDOT's funding stream.
Right.
You can, but it takes many more years than you might imagine, unless you happen to have some sleight of hand or some, better luck than most agencies.
I think you had some thoughts on this, Joel, didn't you? Or did you have some comments on?
Several months ago, staff, when we first started talking with the county, staff created a couple concepts, took them to the planning commission, and some of them were similar to what was in your packet. Actually, what the city staff did present to the planning commission is in your packet. It's the blue and pink one. They liked, curving County Road 4 up to 5th Avenue between the county shop and Tim Small Engine here, and 90 and this off, and putting a cul-de-sac or somehow on 3rd Avenue. We brought that to the city council, I think the next meeting after that, and I don't know if it was at a budget meeting or a regular meeting, and the discussion was exactly what it was tonight. Yeah, it's not ideal, there's no crashes, keep it the way it is, and priority is 2 and on the west side and 8th Avenue Northeast on the east side.
I mean, I think if you decide to go up to 5th, like this one option here, then I think you got a big deal just because of the grade change. You know, especially if you're gonna add turn lanes and all that, I mean, you're gonna be into Kubish's building there by the time you're done, you know?
That was my initial concern when that concept was thrown out. I mean,
Right.
that,
That's yeah,
you know,
that's a big,
I think the one thing that's truly advantageous is it is only a 30-mile-an-hour zone. I mean,
Right.
the safety aspect of it is,
What is surprising, it's 60 right, what street is it, right by the funeral home, isn't it? I mean, it's 60 pretty close.
just after, I think it's just after that.
Yeah.
But I mean, to go from a 60 to a 30
Yeah.
here in a matter, I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
you know, that's a MinDOT issue.
Yeah, I know,
you
that's the,
That's
I'm
crazy.
amazed that they go to 60 before we get to 2. I mean, I
Right.
would have think it should have been 60 after that, I mean.
Right. I mean, years ago it was a 45.
Yeah, I know.
Right. But that's a
Yeah.
MinDOT issue, of course.
it wouldn't hurt to, I can reach out to the state and see what their logic for that is.
I mean,
They did that all over the district. They
Yeah.
did it district-wide. There's an awful lot of zones that got changed, and sometimes they might have,
Well, that was the thing when, you know, not to get off topic, but when the fatality took place, speed was never identified as being a potential cause for any of those recent crashes. Yet the speed had been increased not that long ago, and we've had a high number of crashes. Even that 5 miles an hour, and, you know, people go 10,
Yeah.
that in itself would have, you know.
Your project is on schedule for, well, I suppose it depends. Or when is it?
pardon me?
When is it on schedule? or
We
is it
got the
depends?
program for '22.
Okay.
I didn't bring I have it in my packet there, but, yeah.
Okay.
And I think I don't see any reason why we would not be able to achieve that.
Sure.
Especially if we kind of keep that alignment as it is.
Right. So
Again,
that,
I'd probably write Joel a letter, just saying, I would recommend the city strongly consider closing Third sometime in the future, you know, not tomorrow, not in the winter, but, you know, just to see what happens to traffic patterns and see how the public responds. Sometimes we're surprised that.
well, so you're saying to close Third and leave it the way it is, or close Third and make that right angle?
Well, no, I think I would just close Third, because then, you know, there's no additional cost involved in the project.
I see, I see.
And it's indicative that it would improve pedestrian movements, which I think is a key concern. It frees you up to
I see.
do some sidewalk improvements there. But, you know, it's certainly something you'd have to work out, I think, with all of the residents and some of the businesses out there to see how they.
Well, I think at a minimum, I think you probably want to have like a public hearing or some public gathering, at least take some input before we close the road and just say this is the deal. I thought the point was if you close it, that you make it a right angle kind of thing. But if you're gonna leave it the same,
So
That-
We aren't gaining
we're
anything.
not
No,
getting
then-
anything.
Correct.
right, then.
Well, I would
right.
argue you are. You're going to eliminate a point of conflict in the existing intersection. You eliminate it by closing it.
Right, I
And
see.
if that's
No.
the issue, there's excess of number of points of conflict. Perhaps the most cost-effective measure is
I
to
see.
close the minor leg. And I'm not suggesting you close it. I said, try it.
Do a trial
It's a
closure.
Trial closure.
Would you recommend closing it at the residential lot versus, you know, one back from the
Yeah.
car dealership? Because I'm looking at it, if you
Yeah.
tried to close it further to the north, you would actually make it too difficult, you know.
No, I think we decided that practically speaking, you have to close it between the residential driveway and the business entrance, right?
Right, so basically you're gonna be sending traffic down Alabama. All the traffic that's going
Yeah.
from, you know, I don't know if that's something we wanna do or
But that would
not,
be a
but,
city
yeah.
decision,
Right,
not a
you're
county,
right,
you
you're
know,
right.
not a county decision. It's not,
Right.
it's all within your right of way. It's nothing, none of our, I don't believe any of our county road right of way extends into that area that we're just kind of focusing on right now. And again, it's a trial.
Sure.
You can
So
evaluate the
basically,
pros and cons.
that's a little bit irrelevant of what you're trying to accomplish then, right? I mean, is that right?
Well,
Is that-
again, yeah, the goal, I mean, what are we trying to accomplish with this intersection? Address traffic safety issues. Well, before we invest hard dollars, perhaps it's wise to invest soft dollars and help us gain a better understanding of how valuable all the different legs of an intersection are. There's very low cost to that,
Right,
and, you know, it might surprise us all. Maybe not, but we don't know. And so I think it is something to consider, and we would have time to do that. Again, it's, that closure would be completely on the city. I mean,
Right.
again, I'd
Right.
recommend you consider on a trial, just so we get a better feel for how would that impact that intersection. You know, and you could do it sometime next year, it doesn't involve, wouldn't affect our 2022 project, right? And again, like if we rebuild it as it is, in my opinion, that's a minimal cost to replace what we have today. If in the future, we had significant other residential developments that, you know, blow up that intersection with foot traffic or pedestrian traffic, your trail system, whatever, you know, we can always come back.
Well,
I
you're
would-
right, right, you can always close it.
we were talking about, you know, we should keep our eye on the validity, you know,
Yeah, I
we,
know.
we could go out of our ways to keep all three of those businesses intact, and then they all fold anyway.
Sure.
Right.
So, you know, we don't know that. We can't throw money at something, we don't know how long they're gonna be operating there, and if one of those parcels would come up for sale, that might be an advantageous time for
Well,
local governments to take a look at it.
That little car lot's always for sale. The guy wants 90 grand for
Yeah,
it.
he pulled it off the market.
Oh, did he pull it
Yeah.
off recently? Okay. Dennis, let me
So,
ask you.
go ahead, go ahead,
Oh,
go ahead.
thank you, Tim, excuse me. If this was if money wasn't an issue, and taking your experience of probably 35, 40 years being an engineer, what should we do with this intersection to make sure that it's safe and we don't run the high probability of newbies coming to town? You know, the old timers have been down there, they're used to looking, and you know, newbie, as the new population comes in, they're not used to,
Yep.
doing. So what would you do?
Well, I think I'd do what I recommended.
And
I'd
what-
recommend you temporarily close that street and see what kind of feedback you get.
Well, I mean,
Evaluate
right,
that.
but, you know, if, just to add, I mean, if money didn't matter.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I'd still
Then you do
start
the
with
right-
that. I'd still
right.
start with that,
Right.
because
But I guess my
you
point.
can't say money doesn't matter, because it does.
Yeah.
And you have to justify why you're spending that money
Right.
to solve a problem that really may not exist, and there's a much more cost-effective solution.
So you can't give a hypothetical?
Well,
You can.
I mean,
know
the
you
safest would be to make it a right angle,
can. See, that's right, Tim.
right? And
That's right.
Then it's the turn
That's
lanes and all
right.
like in a jazz.
That's exactly
That's
right.
the
And then
safest thing to do.
you'd be buying
Right.
right away
Right.
and all that stuff.
Or
You're
maybe
right.
they
Then you-
donate it to the city. You know, I mean, they're not talking a bunch there. I mean,
Yeah,
well, the new owner of the restaurant, the smoke shop, I mean, I don't know how he would react to access to his business being changed.
well, the thing of it is, that man's, looks like he's gonna be very successful. I doubt if he'll be there that long, to be quite honest. He's doing big time. Anyway, that's a lot
More
of
parking.
Just
what if.
with all
If
due
we did
respect,
that.
money does matter.
If you did
So
what?
I
If he
can't-
did that, he's gonna get more.
If money didn't
this is
matter.
the best
right,
option,
we'd-
by far.
Yeah.
Well, I was just looking from
It's
a
just if you
technical
can afford it.
standpoint, that's
Yeah.
all I was trying to do.
Yeah.
Is there a question for you? Is there of these two pieces that need correcting, is there a priority in 22, if it comes down to dollars? Is the Fifth Avenue piece the priority, or,
The Fifth Avenue concept is realigning the road, correct?
yes?
Yeah, I don't think that's on our table at the county. That after discussion with staff and what I understood, and I wasn't in favor of it when I saw it. It's tantalizing to think about realigning the road past the county shop and dealing with that, but I don't know if that'd be the best for the city circulation.
well, it's just the cost, like we talked.
And the
I mean,
cost would
a
be
mess.
significant, and if that, and I think I had these discussions back when it was originally thrown out as a concept, it's like, well, I think certainly the city and the county would pursue that if that was a number one priority of the council, but I think there'd be some restrictions, and one would be the city would have to agree to take over all of the existing alignment, because our County Road 4 would go that way, and we're gonna give you the old county road, so that's yours.
Yeah, no, I
And-
get,
and
I get that.
right-of-way acquisition through that corridor might be kind of expensive. I don't know if we really have enough right-of-way to introduce left, right, and through lanes at the intersection and then snake it back down. you know,
Um,
don't know, didn't really look
well-
too hard at it. And grades are more of a problem for me, I think, coming up to 19 there.
Right,
And,
right.
uh,
What was your planned improvement? Is it a mill and overlay, or what is the
We're
plan?
planning to do almost a full reconstruct
Oh, okay.
to accommodate whatever underground utilities you guys want to
Okay.
do as part of that. I know you got a huge plan, great to see it and well laid out, and Third Street is part of that, I think. But I think we'll have a variable section, so we'll like rebuild what we have there, full depth, 10-ton. I think we talked about a center turn lane, to stripe it possibly with a center turn lane, but then you're gonna have to wrestle with probably eliminating parking, and I doubt if that would go over, so.
Are you getting involved in any utilities at all, or not?
Well, we've identified a couple locations where the city has utility repair kind of priorities underneath the county's project.
I think, I'm sure you're probably all aware, we've had a number of water main breaks over the years, just because of the sheer effect and all
Very
that.
rate of fifth
Right.
coming across.
Did we put a casing in there years ago or something to try and sleeve it? I thought we did something there to try. Is it still the same?
There's some repair effort.
Eliminated that line underneath. Yeah, I thought we talked about one time maybe. Oh, I guess my point is, I don't know how you can address that, if you in fact lay a casing in there, or if you're just gonna, because many years ago, back when Hazelton did this probably, I don't know, 40 years ago, where they dug all the sand out of the roadway, and I'm sure you remember that, where they dug all the sand out. But obviously, once the water main gets into the peat or the poor soils, you got the different, obviously causing water main breaks.
And
So I-
there are ways to deal with that if you know you've got a section. I mean, I've laid
I'm-
water main through peat with flexible fittings at each end where it can go like
Sure.
this, but.
I'm just asking, I don't,
But
yeah.
we have to evaluate that as part of the county's project, so we already talked about, we'd coordinate that with their work. We wouldn't be in there a year in advance, and we wouldn't be there
Yeah.
after them. It would be part of the same.
Sure.
project.
Tim, maybe you can help me with this, because you mentioned priorities, which was an excellent point. Who's the dog and who's the tail in this thing? Is the county coming to us and go, we want to do this road, or are we saying to the county, or is it how does this happen?
Well,
I've never seen so many fingers get pointed at once.
I know, I'd like to know.
I'm not the 17th reconstruction, it's
Right.
a county road.
right.
Okay.
We're
To Tim's point about priorities, a roundabout out there on 19 and, what is that, 8th Avenue?
2.
Or
Third Avenue?
Third Avenue,
Third
out
Avenue, yeah.
out
Or out
there.
here?
Yeah, out there, yeah, out
okay,
there.
Yep.
That, to me, let me ask you this, is it possible to take this off the table and put direction on a roundabout out there as a matter of priority?
at 2 and 96.
Or what am I
That's what
talking?
he's
I don't,
referring to.
yeah.
At 2 and 96, the state has already, and I
Right.
think Dennis is gonna touch on that, is putting together a funding request for HSIP funding to build a roundabout at that location.
So we're working with a state highway and a county highway. So-
At that point.
At
At that
No
point.
city streets.
But here we're working with the county only and the city streets, is that
And the
correct?
state,
And the
because
state.
anything we do that impacts the
Right.
state highway,
Okay,
the
so
state will be involved.
okay,
because
John,
it's a
I-
truck highway.
I'm glad you said that, that's what I'm trying to get to. So then, as a matter of who's wagging the tail's wagging or the dog's wagging, our wagon should be, what is our priority here?
So what they're doing is railway, County Road 4, right
Yep,
past the
I
fire hall.
understand
That's
that.
going to get fixed.
It
He wants-
doesn't
he
have
want-
to be, though.
No,
We
no.
can tell them, no, we don't want to do that right now.
No, this is their property.
This is our property, too.
No, the
that
County Road
adjoins
4
us.
is the railway is
The
county
you go
road.
high enough up the food chain, Scotty,
Yeah.
and this man, you go high enough up, believe me, I know. So our priority as a city would be the roundabout down there by the liquor store.
And that is. oh,
That's what I'm
no,
talking about.
You're on the other side of town.
I am, I'm talking about down there, you guys.
There's no county road there though.
No,
What's 19?
it's a state.
highway.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to. So I have a state highway, and this man only addresses county road.
County.
Okay, then I rest. I'll take that off. Sorry, I don't know my roads. But that's the point, Your Honor.
Yeah,
You know,
no, right.
who's calling?
Right,
No.
right. Is the ultimate plan afford to do like a mill and overlay all the way down, to 21 eventually? Or is that?
We've reprogrammed the rest of County 4, south of the school, couple of years in a row, we've had to juggle it, which means it gets pushed back. So I think that's in '23.
Correct.
Where we're going to
Okay, all right.
reclaim it and resurface it.
So basically, over the
Hopefully,
next,
we can keep it.
yeah, over the next 2-3 years, we'll have all new from here all the way.
Yeah, all the
Right,
way back down to.
Right, right.
So Steve, what my point was is, they're gonna redo 4, they're just giving us the option, if we wanna make some fine tuning of our intersections before they do their final plans, so that's.
Well, but what I'm saying is to take a different stand, not to insult you,